last and certainly not least, we have Ombudsman Tatoyan with us. Dr. Tatoyan is the human rights defender in the Republic of Armenia. Dr. Tatoyan is the head of the National Preventative Mechanism in Armenia. He is a member of the Council of European Committee for Preventing Torture. Previously, he has served as an international advisor to the Council of Europe. Good day, panelists, and welcome, Dr. Tatoyan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stepanian. Dear colleagues, analysts, let me greet you and wish all of the success. And it is an honor to participate, to deliver a speech at the 31st annual meeting of the Armenian Bar Association. And from the very outset, I want to join the president of Nagorno-Karabakh, who expressed his wish to have the 32nd annual meeting of Armenian Bar Association at in the Nagorno-Karabakh, I think, Republic. I think this would be an excellent idea and another step to show our democratic Artsakh to the whole world. And before I start, let me first of all express my deepest appreciation to the Armenian Bar Association, and specifically, first I would start with Armenian Rights Watch Committee, Mr. Karo Ghazarian and Karnik Erkonyan, who protect Armenians' rights not only in Armenia, but in America, but all over the world. And I want to express especially also my thanks to Mr. Gerard Kasabian, Lucy Varpetian, Ms. Lucy Varpetian, Mr. Armen Hovanesyan, and Mr. Mesrop Kutagulia, because I had an experience and a great experience of cooperating with these very outstanding professionals, and I feel honored to be here and also to deliver this speech, to have this possibility. I will start my speech with words saying that highlighting the importance of women's rights protection, and I will focus today on women's rights protection, but in the light of domestic violence, of course, prevention. And Mr. Stepanian, as you very rightly said, the Human Rights Defender of Armenia is the national human rights institution in the country. It is the independent constitutional body vested with international A status, the highest status of accreditation provided by the UN Special International Group Commission. And as the Human Rights Defender, we have direct involvement and impact in fight against gender-based discrimination, prevention of domestic violence, promotion and protection of women's rights. To this end, emphasizing the fact that all the aspects of the work is of utmost importance, the crucial role of human rights promoting mechanisms and strategies should be pointed out distinctly. Let me here highlight the importance of protection, of course, of family values and our families. To my belief, families in Armenia and the institution of family lies at the core, at the heart of our society, and this is the basis of our strong society. But of course, with violence and with rights violations, we can't speak about strong families wherever, in any part of the world. And if to be more concrete, women all around the world definitely face discrimination that derives from stigma and stereotyping in regard to role of women in political and public life that impairs full realization of their political, social, economic, and other human rights and hinders women's access to justice. Lack of women as decision makers and low level of participation of women in decision-making processes are also a result of largely accepted stereotypes, which leaves many voices unheard and causes absence of gender mainstreaming and gender sensitivity in many areas. Of equal concern are persistent vertical and horizontal gender segregation in the labor market, concentration of women in part-time work and low-paid jobs in the informal sector, low representation of women in management positions, etc. Stereotypes suppress potential of women, can cause and justify violence against women, and also distort development of society at large. Let me here say that as the Human Rights Defender of Armenia, we very largely focus on economic development of women and economic empowerment of women. And to this end, we have implemented certain projects at strengthening the economic empowerment of women, especially in regions of Armenia, because our studies show that one of the reasons of domestic violence is economic situation and the social situation of a certain family or of a certain woman. And let me also stress that for the purposes of domestic violence prevention, women's rights protection, as I said, we cooperate largely also with our international partners. So we have common projects with Council of Europe, with UNFPA, this is United Nations Fund for Population, USAID, EU, European Union, etc. And we also cooperate very largely with civil society, and I have to appreciate here the role of civil society in Armenia in this area. It is well established that one of the main means of fighting discrimination, as I said, generally, of course, is the economic independence. And we have started a special project which includes awareness raising on women's economic empowerment and activities conducted by women network organizations and assistance in creation of women resource centers in far regions of the country. To conduct the project meetings, we held in a number of small towns with local civil society organizations, women's rights activists, local authorities. The main goal of the project is to help women reveal their potential and to help organize an active group which then will be able to implement independent projects. Further, it is very important to apply innovative approaches, and we use the use of information technologies is very important, and it is widely used in our projects. The Human Rights Defender has launched a campaign with engagement of men and boys, as well as role models, public figures, sportsmen, and other influential persons, as well as inclusiveness and use of modern information technologies, such as social media, memes, public service announcements, and various announcement tools. Especially regions will be targeted through the campaign. This unique practice of using up-to-date technologies purposes to target young generation and wide range of audience. It is worth stressing that all the means of the campaign are accessible for all persons. And by the way, the huge part of this campaign has already completed, and we are using also the latest achievements of technologies, especially for awareness raising purposes. Mass media is a key actor in shaping the public discourse, and because they report on current events and provide a framework for their interpretation. And to this end, I want to bring one very important example. In cooperation with German embassy, some while ago, we could take a group of journalists for a special trip to Germany, where our colleagues journalists could study German experience, how to report cases on domestic violence and women's rights, so that not to have double victimization and to provide the right knowledge to the society, which was another very important, let's say, this is one of our projects. To advise the parliament and government on measures to strengthen women's human rights apart from trainings of the state officers. By the way, we are very largely focused on training of state officials, because we, to our opinion, and I observed this during our monitoring, that stereotypes are not only in the society amongst just, people, but also within government officials, which creates another problem, another series of problems in tackling the issue of prevention of domestic violence. And we submitted several recommendations both to the government and to the parliament. And at the end, I wanted to focus also on a very important issue. We focus very much our attention on practice. The thing is that that violations in this area are hidden due to stigma, due to stigma issues, due to stereotypes, etc. Women prefer, or children, not to complain, and this is also something that is deeply rooted, I should say, within the society, especially if we are talking about regions of Armenia. And we had very recently one case which showed, this was one example showing the whole problems in the area. Like I will just I will be very short, and this is the last point of my presentation. A young woman of 20 years of age called at one point we received a call on our hotline. And according to that hotline call, a woman of 20 years of age is illegally kept in one of the psychiatric institutions of Armenia. So, of course, we dispatched a rapid reaction group. The group went to the psychiatric hospital, and it was proved, and we revealed that this woman, this young lady, was being kept there illegally without grounds. So when we kind of tried to dig into this problem, and we revealed that a story that really shows the practical problems of that people may face, and even it may affect their destiny. This woman, we found out eventually that this woman was a victim of systematic domestic violence, physical violence, and verbal violence, I must say, from the side of her husband. So at one point, she decided to commit a suicide. She went to one of the bridges of Armenia, called very famous bridge called Kievan Bridge, and she tried to commit a suicide from that bridge. All of a sudden, she changed her mind and she called the police. The police arrived, and the police took her to the police station. In the police station, they started an investigation. They opened kind of an investigation, and all of a sudden, when they learned that this woman wanted to commit a suicide from that bridge, well, with the reasons that are not that clear, for reasons that are not that clear, they called an emergency ambulance service. The emergency arrived, and again, for that moment, no one knows why, they took her to the psychiatric institution after learning that she's kind of inclined to commit a suicide. At the psychiatric institution, the administration forced her kind of to sign some paper without disclosing the content of this paper. So this young lady, being shocked, by the fact that she is escorted by the police officers, and she is already in a psychiatric institution, escorted then later by the ambulance. So she signed the paper. At the end, on the next day, it appeared that this paper was an agreement for medical treatment in a psychiatric institution. So when she learned that this was an agreement because they convinced her to sign it without disclosing the content, she started asking them, even begging, the psychiatric institution administration to let her go. But no one did this. And moreover, they started to treat her and to make certain injections without the agreement. So apparently this was illegal, of course. And when we arrived at the psychiatric institution, we learned that this woman is completely in her mind, and she was adult. So there were no signs of keeping her there, and the psychiatric institution was just requiring presence of her parents to come and take her. But their parents were not in Armenia at that time. So there was a real problem. And of course, at our request, at our requirement, let's say, they let the woman go. But the thing, because she was kept there apparently illegally. At my application, at my motion, a criminal case was launched at the investigative committee of Armenia, but because of the Armenian deficiencies of Armenian legislation, the case was dismissed later because the law itself has problems. And moreover, we had later a police officer who was responsible, who was tasked to kind of control her behavior. That police officer appeared to be a person who was calling her, like flirting and proposing to go and to have some drinks together, etc. So we have kind of this case showed, a bunch of problems, and this woman was not provided with any psychological assistance, with any need-based assessment, etc. And later, even we had to give some document, some paper to this woman to be protected from some members of the family, because the members of the family were like attacking her by saying that, and verbally, by saying that she's from psychiatric institution, then apparently, she's mad, she's crazy. So, and we had to provide, this woman asked a special paper from us that we certified that she does not have this kind of problems, but it was a result of illegally keeping her there. So this is one example that shows really lack of cooperation among institutions and problems also in the legislation. So here at this point, I will stop. Sorry for my probably long speech, but I tried to bring an example also to complete this with showing a concrete case. Thank you.